Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Trevose podcast. Today we have Mr. David Cowan and Mr. Henry Alliss. Henry Alliss is the son of Peter Alliss, who is well known for his broadcasting time on the BBC, as well as his astounding golfing professional golf career. So both of these guys are part of Trevose Golf and Country Club. David's been with the club for a while now. Henry Alliss is head of events and golf. We're very excited to hear a lot about Trevose and the amazing course that they run, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Travel Royally podcast. We're thrilled that you could be here with us today, and we're excited to have as our guest David Cowan and Henry Alliss from the Trevose Golf Club in Cornwall, England. Henry's a member of the senior management staff, and he's the head of events and golf at Trevose. And he's been in the golf business his entire career since graduating from college. He's been at Tracy Park and Bristol Golf Club, to name a couple. And you might say that golf is in Henry's blood because his grandfather, Percy, was a notable English golfer back in the 30s and 40s. And his father was an 8-time Ryder Cupper, a longtime broadcaster, and a member of the Golf Hall of Fame. His name's Peter Alliss, and we're fortunate also to have David Cowan, and David is the head professional at Trevose Golf Club, and he hasn't been there long, just a short 44-year career as a professional there, or employed there, I should say. So Henry and David, welcome to the Travel Royally podcast.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Really looking forward to talking about Trevose with you.
Yeah, I'm glad that you both are here. I was there, truth be told, several weeks ago. Unfortunately, the three of us were rained out that day. We couldn't play. I got a good view of the course and the surrounding area. I fell in love with Cornwall. And so we're excited. We're building a trip actually next year, everybody, to go to Cornwall and play 3 or 4 of the very best clubs in England, have some wonderful dining experiences, stay at some first-class hotel properties, and have some experiences that'll be not only memorable, but unforgettable. So let's start very quickly. David, obviously you've been there a long time. How did you get into golf in the first place?
Well, I used to come here on holiday as a youngster. And we've got the 3 courses here. We've got the championship course, and we've got a full-length 9-hole course that also takes you down to the ocean. And then we have a sort of par 3 academy course. And I started on that as a youngster and got the bug, which was, has set me in good stead for all these years here at Trevose. And I've seen so many changes on the course over the years, and it's just I'm very lucky. If you work in a place that is your sort of casual spare time hobby as well, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I fully understand that. And by the photos you see behind us, obviously, everybody, you can see that Trevose is in a wonderful setting. Now, Henry, it's obvious how you came to golf through your family, but what are your earliest memories of golf?
I think probably the earliest memories I've got. So growing up, I grew up in Surrey, which is just south of London, and we lived right next to a very good inland parkland course called Hindhead, and so we would go across there with Dad, with the dogs, and we'd take just one club and we'd play 3 or 4 holes up and back, and then cut back through the woods and back home. So it kind of taught me. Dad was one for showing how to play all different types of shots with just one club. So he'd only allow us to take one club over, and you'd have to play everything. You have to putt with it out the bunkers, from the rough, off the tee, and try and make the score with. And the club would change. It could be a 7-iron, it could be a 3-wood, could be whatever he wanted to take over that night. So it was fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great way to learn how to play golf. It sounds like how Seve learned how to play golf, hitting the 2-iron on the beach, right? That was the only club he had.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Sevi and Dad were really good friends. So I know Dad spent a lot of time with him just before he passed, which was sad. But yeah, I think he was a big inspiration for Dad.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, David, you're fortunate to be at such a wonderful club like Trevose. And I know that the club was founded in 1926. Course was laid out by got world famous architect Harry Colt. Tell us about your role at Trevose.
Well, I started off working behind the bar, just really 19 years old, because I knew the club and my father did business with the club. It sort of became a natural thing when I was looking for some work in the hospitality industry that Dad had a few words with Peter Gammon, who ran the club for many, many years until his son Nick took over, and I'm behind the bar. And I suppose 3 or 4 years behind the bar, having a bit of lunch. Peter Gammon, the owner, was a very generous and hospitable man, and he would always like to entertain the staff at times and have a bit of lunch with them, maybe a glass of wine too many, and he would find out a little bit more. It was a fact-finding mission with lunch. And he said to me one day, he said, I think I'd like you to come in the main office with the then general manager, and I want you to learn the business. And it just went from strength to strength. People we meet here from all sort of networks of the world of business, sport, television. They really do like coming here, because one of the mantras of Peter Gammon and of Trevose is that when you're on holiday here, whoever you are, you're on holiday. So you can come in, you can have a beer at the bar. I mean, the Prime Minister used to be here, Margaret Thatcher, many years ago. You can have a drink in the clubhouse and you will not get disturbed.
Yeah.
You won't get people coming up asking for photographs or autographs or whatever. And makes it unique, because word gets about amongst the famous people, I suppose you could say, that, oh, if you're going to Trevose, oh, you'll love it, because you can just be who you are.
Yeah.
And that's just fun. And to see the business progress over the 44 years has been magical.
Yeah.
Magical.
I've got a question for you. I talked to a gentleman who is the head pro at a club, Littlestone. And I was telling him about my trip over there, and he said Trevose is clearly the best course in Cornwall, and yet it remains somewhat of a secret to American visitors. David, why do you think that is?
I think, honest answer, I think the US sort of golfer really does think that links golf is only in Scotland and maybe Ireland, but I think Scotland. And I think probably because that's what they see on television. For the Open Championship, they see, St Andrews, they see Royal Troon, Turnberry, and places like that. And I think it's very hard to say to them, guys, there is links golf outside of Scotland. We have a group of 32 that come from LPGA down at Florida, Daytona. And the first time they came here, they just couldn't believe it. They literally said, gee, we didn't know these courses existed outside of Scotland. And they've been coming here for 20 years now, 32 of them. So I think that's the thing, and it's no fault. I think it's what we get to see, and it's like our golfers over here. They want the courses all nice and green and fairways and everything, because that's what they see on American courses.
Right.
So I think it's what, if you haven't seen it, you don't know. You see, that would be what I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, with our guests, our clients, we try to get them on courses where the membership and the feel is where it's not Americanized. So I think that's something that maybe Trevose can probably bring to the table.
Yeah.
Can y'all talk a little bit about the membership and the people who are normally playing at Trevose?
Well, we have because a lot of the area are second homes and are holiday homes, a little bit like like the New Yorkers they go to the Hamptons, or people go down to Florida in the winter and they have their house down there. There's a lot here. We have a decent local playing membership, but then we've got, at certain times of the year, they're down here on holiday, stroke vacation, and they come from everywhere. I mean, we've got members, Sunningdale, the Berkshire, 3 of the open courses, Royal Liverpool or Hoylake, Royal St George's, Walton Heath. And we've also got members here who are also members at Augusta and Pine Valley. So, we get quite a varied roll through of golfers who stay with us but are our members. And our membership, again, it's just very relaxed. There's no pressure. There's no pressure. It's again, as I go back to, it's our mantra that you're here to relax and enjoy yourself and don't feel under any pressure.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, David. I didn't tell either of you this, but on Sunday when I was there, my girlfriend Tina and I were up in the area, and it was the final day of the Open. Right. So it's on TV. I stop in. The clubhouse is full. We walked in because I wanted to show her the place, and we went down to the beach, which is spectacular. And I had a beer and watched a little bit of the golf. And I walked in like I was a member. Nobody said anything to me, but the people were very friendly. It was a very lively, but laid back atmosphere. It's not formal like a lot of the clubs in England outside of Cornwall, where it's more, for lack of a better term, formal.
Well, it's formal where you don't know which door you can go through. Can you go through that door or that door? Right. And you get greeted by some of the members as if to say, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And you want to reply by going, "Well, I've actually just paid quite a lot of money to play your golf course, so I feel I should be able to walk through the clubhouse." Tell you the prime example of being made totally relaxed is Pine Valley. You go there, and you put your shoes on, and you can go wherever you want in the clubhouse. Do what get a beer or coffee, whatever you want, whatever. The staff are really relaxed. And that reminds me of what I think some of our older courses, like I've done Sunningdales or places like that, used to be years ago. I think they used to be a little bit more relaxed, but they've become unrelaxed because you don't feel relaxed when you go and play them.
Right. Exactly.
If you get what I'm trying to say is we want our visitors and members to enjoy it and as I say, feel under no pressure on where they can go in the clubhouse or get a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
We want them to be relaxed.
Now, Henry, how many visitor rounds a year do you get at Trevose? Do you know?
So, because we have such a transient sort of base of people who come through, it's kind of all blended in. I'd say we probably do 40,000 rounds a year, something like that.
40?
Something like that.
Wow.
Over the course of the year, because we have the accommodation, so we have people who, at the moment we've got a couple who are here for a whole month. They're staying with us for a month. So they'll play every day, and it's not like a traditional membership where they'll, you might play 20, 30 times a year, because people are coming in and out and they're here generally for sort of 2-3 days. They're playing golf every day they're here, so it's quite a churn through.
Yeah. Now, I know, David, a lot of work has been done to the course. We talked before we went on the air about the fourth hole behind us that has changed considerably.
Yeah.
What improvements have been made to the course over the last several years?
Well, over the last 7 years, we took on the agency of Mackenzie Ebert, course designers, and Tom Mackenzie, who's part of that team, is a cult aficionado, and he came in and basically did a walk around with our head greenkeeper Neil Ivermy and our MD Nick Gammon, and they did a walk around, and he liked some of the changes that we'd done in-house through playing the course and thinking bunkers here, maybe move those there. But he came in with a 7-year plan. And the first hole we started on was, in fact, the fourth, where we built this green. And we had to create some new bunkers. And Tom was saying, well, I'll be back down in sort of 6 weeks just to see how you're getting on, to see whether you've managed to start. And Nick Gammon turned around and said, oh, we'll start tomorrow. We're going to get this started tomorrow because we have one committee and because it is proprietary owned by the Gammon family, they're going to do improvements on the course. It's their business, so they're not going to be detrimental improvements just for the sake of doing it. This is our product, so we want the product of the golf course to be the best.
Yeah.
So we started a 7-year plan, and we've only rebuilt 1, 2, 3, 4 greens, but aesthetically, it's the view that the view the golfer gets, because it's not just playing the golf course. You want to stand on the tee and go, wow, that's what we've got in front of us. Especially the fourth hole, which bizarrely, Colt, when he designed it, you couldn't see the green, but it's the green going out to the ocean.
Yeah.
You can now see the green from 90% of the course. You can see it from the clubhouse. You never could before. And the catch is when you're on the fairway and you've got fairway, green, and the ocean behind it. Mm-hmm. And that's the signature hole. And it's just amazing. We've had the Legends Tour here, and great compliments from those players who used to be on the main European Tour or DPT Tour, and said that they don't have to say it, they don't get anything for it. They were just truthful in saying this is one of the best courses we play, because you have to play it. And this is all because of the changes we've done.
Yeah. Speaking of some of the significant parts of the course, a lot of the times people are asking what's surrounding the course. They're really interested in the views, what type of terrain is around. Henry, can you talk a little bit about if we had visitors come, what can they expect outside of the course?
Yeah, so
itself.
So we're surrounded by obviously beautiful beaches.
You can see that behind us.
I think it's seven bays that we have down here that are all absolutely beautiful to go and walk on. Then you go into Padstow, would be kind of the famous town that's near us. Has amazing seafood, a very famous restaurant there, which is the seafood restaurant by Rick Stein, who's famous in the UK, Michelin. So there's wonderful eating, that kind of side, and then there's more Michelin starred restaurants, which are, do you have Michelin in America or?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's about, I think, 4 Michelin restaurants all down this way. Nathan Outlaw, Rick Steins, and Nathan Outlaw has 2, I think.
He has 2, and Paul Ainsworth as well.
And Paul Ainsworth.
Yeah.
So there's some wonderful eating, and being so close to the sea, it's all great seafood.
I believe we have a couple of those planned in our itinerary when we are going to Cornwall next year.
Yeah, and we've got, if you're into more cultural activities, we have Tintagel Castle, which is the sort of the historical mythical seat of where King Arthur and the Round Table and the knights kind of lived, which is a sort of a big old ruin that you can go out on the coast and go and see. It's very dramatic. You've got the Eden Project, which is they're like biosphere domes where they've created these gardens with inside them. They're pretty amazing places, and they do concerts in them and all sorts of crazy stuff if you come at the right time of year.
You get St. Michael's Mount.
St. Michael's Mount. There's I've probably missed off lots, probably, David.
You've got, one of the other very interesting places, it's a place called the Lost Gardens of Heligan, and it was again by sort of founded by Tim Smith, who was responsible for the involvement of the Eden Project. And these were some gardens that had been basically left overgrown since the Victorian period, and they've been totally reinvented and regenerated, cleared out, and they are just the most fantastic area of Victorian gardens that are now visitors flock to see. It's amazing. And then you can go to Land's End if you wanted to and take a picture at the end of at the tip of England.
Yeah, very cool.
New York, 3,000 miles,
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned, Henry, you mentioned some things that people can do off the course. The eating and dining and the Eden Project and some of the other things. But if they wanted to play additional golf, what are some of your favorite courses in Cornwall to play?
So there are a number of great courses down here. So closest would be St. Enedoc, which is about half an hour away. Another links golf course, in very good condition. Then I'd probably go a little bit further up the road to Royal North Devon. Another links, it's a Royal course. I think that's the oldest. Is that the oldest course in Devon?
It claims to be the oldest course in England.
In England, yeah. So very, very old track. And then you've got Saunton, which is about 2 hours from Trevose. 2 courses, the east and the west. All of these are ranked very highly in the top 100 courses in the UK.
Yeah.
So they're all excellent golf courses and all links courses.
Yeah, I didn't have the occasion to play Perranporth, but I drove there, and that looks like you're on the moon. It's
quirky.
Yeah,
really quirky. Lots of blind tee shots, lots of hidden greens. You'd benefit from playing it a couple of times.
Yeah. And West Cornwall was a lot of fun. Another quirky course, a little further south from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, but I want to go back to David. I want to go back to Trevose for a minute. From the clubhouse, it's obviously a beautiful property, right? And as you said, you can see the sea from, I think you told me 15 or 16 of the holes.
Yeah.
So the views are spectacular. What would be the signature hole? Is it the 4th?
It would be the 4th, yes. Yeah. Most definitely. They all look good now. The second looks good. The first is a lovely new opening hole. We built a new green there, new green complex there. Again, you've got fairway green, and then sort of the distance of the sand dunes and the ocean. The same with the second hole. Every hole's got something to just sort of maybe take your mind off golf if it's not going too well.
Yeah.
As you can see behind Jeff, it looks like there was a little bit of wind that day in that picture because of his waves. For people who are listening, obviously, he's some big waves behind the fourth hole. What kind of weather? A lot of people ask what to expect with weather in the summer months and the shoulder months. What kind of weather can we expect at Trevose?
Well, the view behind Jeff, for those who can see it, the waves will in the winter will crash all the way over that. They will crash over it. What weather can you expect? It's very hard to foresee.
What's the range? Go worst to nicest.
Well, I mean, the nicest I think is sort of May, June, July, because you've got the long days. You've got the lovely light evenings. You can be still playing golf at 10 o'clock in the evening. It's generally quite balmy. The temperatures are nice. August over the years, I have to be honest, is proving a difficult month for us weather-wise. You just have no idea what it's going to bring.
Yeah.
And we seem to then fall back into September and October, which it just at times can be beautiful.
Yeah.
It's if I told you in January you could be playing golf in a t-shirt.
Yeah.
If the weather's right, but if the weather's not right, well, you've got 2 sets of waterproofs. You've got bobble hats, you've got everything, or you don't go out and you have a good lunch instead.
Well, when I was there in July, the temperature never got above 65 degrees. And for people living almost anywhere in the States, that would be the low for any given day, not the high. So it was wonderful to escape the heat and play literally in temperature-wise in perfect golf weather.
Yeah, it's been 100 a couple times this month already.
Yeah, we had that in June. When it was very, very hot, and the golf course was really got quite brown.
It looked like Hoylake from
when
it was 06 or whatever it was when Tiger won it around there. It looked like that for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's nice and green now.
Yeah. Well, you brought up Hoylake. I want to ask you, Henry, a question. Other than Trevose, what's your favorite links course?
I'd have to say Turnberry. That's just because I've shot my best round of golf around there. So Turnberry.
Always.
Okay.
On the Ailsa course. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And David, how about you? I know you've played some wonderful courses in America that most of us haven't, but in the UK and Ireland, what's your favorite links course other than Trevose?
Well, I would say accessible would be probably Saunton. Less accessible because of situation, I would say, thinking about it, would be Royal Dornoch. Yeah. And that's just spectacular.
Yeah.
That really is. I mean, we both saying we could put King's Barnes in the same sort of loop, but it's not that accessible. And Turnberry, yes, but I would say Saunton because it's 2 hours up the road. And if someone was feeling very generous, Royal Dornoch.
Yeah, very good. And Henry, moving on, Clive Clark is going to be very disappointed to hear that you didn't have Dumbarton in your list of.
That was my second on my choice.
Good save.
I'll just write that down. Yeah. I'll write it down in our notes.
Yeah.
Have you played it yet, Henry?
No, I haven't. No.
I'll tell you what, it's spectacular. I mean, absolutely spectacular. I mean, Hayden and I played it, and the first time I played it, Henry, and I'm not exaggerating. You're up the first tee's up on this hill, and you can see a lot of the course out in front of you. Once you get down in the middle of the first fairway, you see nothing but dunes. And every time you go around, you leave a green complex and go to the next tee. at least for me, every single time I looked at the hole, I went, wow. I've never said wow 18 times on a golf course. So I'm going to tell Clive that you said you love it, and
Absolutely.
that's going to make him
once
very
you,
happy.
it's almost like once you get to the next tee, it's one hole that you can see, and it's just amazing.
It's like you can't see anything but the hole in front of you. Hayden's right. Yeah.
Well, we need to tap up Clive and go.
You need to put that on. And hey, if you need any help getting on, just let me know. I can get you on.
We'll hold you to that.
If you can't figure out a way to get on a Clive Clark course, then you need some help. But I brought up Clive Clark, everybody, because he's a friend of our program. He's been on 3 times. He's become a friend of ours. We love hanging out with him. And he was a partner with Peter Alliss, not only on the BBC for 18 years, but in addition to that, they were golf course designers together, primarily in Europe. So I want to switch to your dad for a minute, if I could, Henry. He was an absolute favorite of mine, and a lot of Americans love turning on the TV on the weekends to listen to your father. He was quite a character, a raconteur. What was it like growing up with Peter Alliss as a father?
I think kind of what you heard on the TV and what you saw, he was like that at home. He was loud and he was full of stories, and he had the greatest memory of anyone I've ever known. He could remember what he had for breakfast in 1972 and what the weather was doing and where he was going, and he'd pluck names out of people he saw once in a random pub, and just an incredible mind. So the stories we had growing up of places he went and the things he did when he was on tour were just cherished memories for me, really. And things that obviously haven't been put out and published and things, and they were just, I think, simpler times when he was younger and playing. There wasn't TV like there is now, and he had to drive everywhere, and the stories of how they got around, and he was fortunate that he kind of somehow managed to get into more of that show busy world. So we ended up with a lot of the sort of the UK show busy people at our house growing up. So we had some wild parties, Christmas and New Year's Eve. We were very lucky that I had my godfather was Terry Wogan, who was a huge entertainer kind of over here in the UK, big on radio as well. In his latter, he did talk shows and all sorts of stuff, and so he used to come over. And Bruce Forsyth, who was probably even bigger of an entertainer, was my brother's godfather. So I said, we used to have Christmases and stuff with them that were just like amazing. Great times, great memories I've got.
Well, it's interesting. Your father was a broadcaster for almost 60 years. And his playing career is often almost overlooked. I mean, he had 31 professional wins. He was an 8-time Ryder Cupper. Your grandfather, too, was an amazing golfer back in his day. But for your father, why do you think his golf career is largely forgotten?
It's a good question. I think because it was just so long ago. Yeah. He was 89 when he passed, and he was playing golf at a time before golf was certainly before what it is now. It was pre-European Tour, pre-DP World Tour being founded. They were the fledgling people who created the tour. It wasn't on TV. And so I think that, combined with the fact that he became such a household name through television, through commentating, I think people just forgot the fact that he played all this golf, because as soon as people heard him and thought of him, they just associated him with the microphone on the telly.
Right.
He was a great golfer. Is one thing he always said, even at the end, he said he felt like he should have won the Open. He finished, I think, fourth, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Your grandfather had some high finishes as well.
Yeah, he was top 10 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad always said they always said to him, "Oh, you'll win it one day. You're too good to not win it." And he said, but it didn't happen for him. Otherwise, he said he can't complain with his playing career. He won a lot of golf and then he retired early.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
true.
probably didn't help as well. Retiring, I think he must have been early 30s when he retired from properly playing, and then certainly by mid 30s he was off commentating and doing his thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think his first appearance on TV was 1961. He would have been probably in his late 20s at that point.
There you go. Yeah. So, and it's funny how he got into the BBC was totally by chance. He was on a plane on the way back from a tournament, and one of the directors for the BBC was sitting on the seat behind him and heard him telling a story and came round the seat and said to him, "I've been listening to your stories and I really think you could add some insight and colour to the broadcast for this year's Open Championship. Would you come and commentate for us?" And he was like, "Well, I'm actually hoping on playing and I'm hoping to win the Open this year. So I'm not sure I'm going to have the time to come and do it." So I'm like, "Well, why don't you play your golf on the Thursday, come on over and do a bit of commentating. And then if you make the cut, then you play. And if you don't, then you can come for the weekend." And I forget the number they said, but they will pay you whatever it was, £20 or whatever it was. And he sat there and he worked it out, and the amount they offered to pay him was effectively the same as coming third.
Yeah.
So he said, so I can go there, get the same money. So, and I think that's where his brain went down that route. And he said, so that was sort of the beginning of the end of his playing days then, really.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the most memorable moments I have with your father was his induction into the World Golf Hall of Fame. And his speech was legendary. I recorded it and still have it, just to give you a sense. Were you in attendance that night?
I wish I was in attendance, but sadly I wasn't. My brother and mum were there, but none of us knew what he was going to say, and so that came as a bit of a surprise to all of us.
Well, David, did you see it? Did you see the broad?
No, I didn't know, unfortunately.
Hayden, I know you didn't. It was legendary. I mean, he's just as Henry described him. He's telling these stories. And the best part was he tells a story about his school teacher, right? And Henry, correct me if I'm wrong, but she said to his parents during like what we would call a parent-teacher conference, and he was probably 15 years old. She said to him, or to the parents with him sitting there, she said, "I believe Peter has a brain, but he's loath to use it, and I fear for his future." Right. So, a couple of moments later, he looks up into the heavens and says, "Mom and Dad, what do you think of this lot? All these people here celebrating him." And then he says to his teacher, I don't remember her name, "Here's to you." And he flips her off. They blur that out on TV. It was absolutely classic. Absolutely classic.
Yeah, I think probably one of the only people who could get away with doing something like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Did
he ever do that to you? Henry?
Say that again, sorry?
I said, did he ever do that to you?
No, not at home.
On the golf course?
Do you know what? I never beat him. Never beat him, not once on the golf course.
Really?
No. But he wouldn't give me any shots. He was always, no, you're going to beat me, you have to play off scratch. So in that regards, I guess yes.
Well, he was still shooting under his age into his late 80s, right?
He was. We have a family golf day, which we call the Alliss Challenge, and it was me, my brother, and Dad, and we would challenge the members of our club to try and beat us around our home track. And it was the kind of, I think it was the last year Dad was playing. Then he decided he wasn't going to play anymore. He got his last hole in one.
Holy cow!
200 yards, hybrid. Two bounce, bang, in. It was unbelievable.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
And
fantastic.
he must have been 82 or 3 at that point. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's fantastic. David, I want to go back to you. We've talked about Henry and his memories of his dad, and his dad literally is a favorite of millions of American golfers. But we talked about some of those great moments. What's your favorite memory of your life in golf? I mean, you've been involved in golf professionally for over 40 years. Do you have a favorite memory?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to sound, but it is I suppose one of my favorite memories was actually two. I played in our Cornwall Amateur Championship here in 2000, and my opponent, a dear old friend from St Enodoc, we both off our championship tees, which is just under 7,000 yards, we both knocked it round we were playing match play, and we both shot 65 to be all square, and he birdied the 19th hole, so I lost there. But did the right thing, went and had a beer, patted him on the back, and said good luck in the final.
Wow.
That was a favorite memory. Probably favorite memory, and I it sounds like I'm dropping the name again, but was playing the par 3 short course at Augusta, and with my host and a chap called Derek Smith, who is part of the Atlanta Falcons ownership, and I had a hole-in-one on the second hole on the short course.
Wow.
And doesn't get much better than that.
High-fiving
that's pretty.
High-fiving with my host was extraordinary, because he's quite elderly, and he's a sir in the world of English style, Sir Ronnie Hampel, and high-fiving was very weird. The good thing is that if you have a hole-in-one on the short course, it's great. You know, it's absolutely amazing. If you have a hole-in-one as a guest on the course, on the main course, you have to buy wine for the restaurant that evening. So, because you know how many people are there, because there's a plaque and it says Sir Ronnie Hampel with 4 guests, and a friend of mine did have a hole-in-one there, and the restaurant was full. So he has to buy wine for the restaurant. So I believe.
That's a nice problem. But I'll tell you what, David, there's a great a couple of connections there. I'm kind of connecting some dots. And when Hayden played American football in college. He was the quarterback at the University of Cincinnati. And the person that came after him, Desmond Ritter, is the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. And obviously, Hayden and I live in Atlanta, and Hayden's a regular golf partner of Desmond. And the other connection goes to you, Henry, and that is Clive Clark. When his appearance in the Masters, I want to say it was 73. Your father was in the booth with Henry Longhurst. The 16th at Augusta, into a strong wind, he hit 2-iron for a hole-in-one, and it was the first televised hole-in-one at the Masters. And to hear him tell how Henry Longhurst described it, it goes like this. Yeah, I'm not going to do an English accent, but he said, and now on the tee, young Master Clive Clark, certainly with a long iron. And then there's silence, and you hear the club hit the ball, and the ball, lands on the green and curls in. And then Henry Longhurst goes, And there you have it. And that was it. And so Clive wasn't upset about that. He says there's a great lesson there in economy of words.
Yeah.
Right. That was Henry's. He was not more verbose than that, but
that's all he needed, I guess.
Yeah.
David, going back to connecting the dots, basically what Jeff was saying is that we both have connections. Now we can go play Augusta with Desmond Ritter and the part owner of the Falcons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that I have been very lucky. The people I've met here at Trevose, the places I've been because of working here at Trevose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless I was a professional sportsman, probably a golfer, or it's not even business wouldn't help it because you don't meet the set, but almost like a musician or something like that because in a band they tend to now. Alice Cooper started it, doing a gig at, say, Atlanta. Well, what am I going to do all day? I've got nothing to do, and took up golf. And so all these people that I've been able to meet to go to places, very special. And you can't foresee that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, David, when you think about your life and how it's been influenced by golf, Henry, your life and how it's been influenced by golf, mine and Hayden's, and the people we've met, the places we've traveled to, meeting people like you that we wouldn't have normally had the occasion to meet. It's touched our lives in ways that are innumerable and far valuable than money, I would say. Right? I mean, the memories that we have from golf, all four of us, are undeniable, and for me, mostly amazing. So.
Well, that's right, and you make everyone's level on the golf course. You could be playing. Well, I played with Dennis Thatcher, Prime Minister's husband, and I was a young man then. I was quite nervous, and there were all these security people about and everything. But once you got that halfway down the first fairway, he's a golfer, I'm a golfer, the other two guys are golfers, and suddenly, how many shots are we getting? What are we going to play for? And it's golf.
Yeah.
And you walk off, and sometimes you might think, well, I'm not sure about this. But 9 times out of 10, all of us can say that we've made fantastic new friends and created friendships through golf that you wouldn't get in other sports.
Right.
I think golf is a great leveler, and you can be a CEO of a big organization, but once you're out on the golf course, he wants to beat you, so you want to beat him, and that's what it's all about. Way.
For sure. We got a couple more questions for you guys. This is one of my favorites, especially for people like you guys in your situation, where a lot of your bucket list is already probably done. Henry, we'll start with you. What is left on your golf bucket list?
So when I got married, I actually went across to West Coast America for a little bit, and I somehow managed to convince my wife to go to Pebble on our home.
How much did that cost you?
Well, this is the kicker. It stopped short of being able to play, so we ended up just having lunch in the clubhouse overlooking the green. So I have to say it's got to be Pebble.
Okay, so you got to get back there.
I'd like to go back to Pebble and actually play Pebble.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
David, what about you?
Well, apart from winning the Open, the US Open and the Masters, I think bucket list, I think I just want to be able to play golf.
As long as you can.
And keep playing,
Yeah.
I just to try and keep fit and play golf, and then you might get invited somewhere that adds to your bucket list or whatever. I think just play golf and enjoy it. Would be it's difficult. A bucket list for all of us is difficult, isn't it? You know, I mean, there are so many fantastic golf courses now.
Yeah.
Well,
we hope you keep playing as well, because Hayden and I want to come over and get a bucket full of strokes from the two of you.
No chance.
Me too.
No chance. We know what American handicaps are.
Yeah.
Well, the only way we would stand a chance, and we wouldn't even then, would be if we played a scramble, and we could, and my team could use Hayden's drives. He tends to hit it a long way, a lot further than me.
Yeah, if the rough is up though, we'd have to wear waterproof shoes, I feel.
You're probably right.
Your feet get wet in the rough.
Yeah. I've got one last question for you, and I want to direct this to you, David. For someone who's coming over for the first time to the UK or Ireland to play links golf, what advice do you have for them?
You know, we were talking about this earlier, and I think Trevose and the other courses like Saunton, I think they epitomise links golf. The turf, the greens, the wind. You know, it can make the golf course play really easy, or you know, it can make it play really hard. And it's that challenge, and alluding to something we said before to your lovely people on this podcast and everything like that. You know, there is links golf outside of Scotland, and I think that would be, you know, and get them to look at the website and see what we've got. But I think we epitomise links golf. It's what you'd expect. It's by the ocean. There's a breeze, bit of wind blowing, and it's a test.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I came away from my visit to Cornwall with was there's so much to do off the course. It's so laid back, right? I mean, you know, the place, I mean, some of the towns are like surf towns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Watergate Bay is like a surfing village, and then you've got fishing villages, and you know, so there's so much to see and do there. And you guys were really helpful in guiding me to places I wanted to see. So we stumbled on Paul Ainsworth, number 6. We didn't have dinner there, but we saw where it was. We went to Tarquin's in, you know, the gin, Cornish gin place in Padstow, and they've got a gin making experience that we're going to share with our guests. But I think the thing that comes away for me is the friendliness of the people. And for anyone watching, what I want you to know, you've met David and Henry, you understand how friendly they are, and that's the type of welcome you'll get when you visit Trevose. It's going to be warm and genuine, and they're going to take very good care of you. And guys, we were thrilled to have you on the podcast. Thank you for investing your time with us today. Hayden and I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's a privilege. It's my first ever podcast, so there's another one on my bucket list. I've done a
there
podcast.
You go.
It's off the list.
It's off the list. Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
But it's been a privilege. Thank you. It's been a privilege to be invited to do it.
We can't wait to come play.
Yeah, anytime. You let us know when you're coming back this way, and we'd love to make a football.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys again so much for joining us. We had a blast. I hope you guys did too. We look forward to having you on next week. We have a great guest coming. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week.